Welcome in the 16th episode. Today we will implement the game over logic. If you want to help support this channel, hit the subscribe button below this video, turn on notifications so you will not miss any future episode I release. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, let me explain you exactly what we're gonna implement. So as you remember from our last episode, we have added some logic to actually score the points whenever the player complete any of the line or the square. But if the player places the shapes in the grid and there is actually no line completed and there is some shape which cannot be placed, there should be a game over pop-up which indicating to the player that he just lost. So let me actually try to get this situation in. So as you see currently this shape cannot be placed anywhere on the grid. So in this case we should have this shape grayed out. The player shouldn't be able to actually move this shape and there should be like a game over animation or whatever you like, or writing, or just indication for the player that he has lost. So this is the logic we're going to implement today. So first of all, let's start by opening the game scene. So go to the scenes folder and open the game scene. And now we need to open our scripts. So go to the scripts, then game, grid, and open the grid script. Okay, so in our grid script, we need to add two more functions in order to actually do this. So let's scroll right at the bottom of this class, and below the last function, I'm gonna add new function. This is gonna be the private function, so private void, and I'm gonna call it check if player lost. Check if player lost. We're not gonna get any arguments. Okay, and inside this function, we wanna create a variable var, valid shapes will be equal to 0. Then we want to put the for loop, so for, and we want to put the var index equals 0. Index is less than the shape storage dot shape list dot count, and then index plus plus. Okay, so we want to loop through all of the shapes which are currently displayed on the screen. So if you have three shapes, so let me actually quickly go back to Unity. So in this situation, the shape list will contain three shapes because we have three shapes here. But if we place any of the shape on the grid, this list will contain only two shapes. So every time you're spawning new shapes, the new shape is added to that list. Okay, and then we want to get every single shape which is here, and then check against the grid if this shape can be placed. Okay, so let me go back now to Visual Studio, to the grid class, and let's carry on with this function. So the check if player lost will loop through all of the shape storage, so through all of the shapes which we have displayed, and then we want to check if the shape is active. So var is shape active is equal to, we want to call the shape storage dot shape list at index dot is any of shape square active. Okay, and then before we carry on with this function, let me actually add one more function below. So let's put private void, and this function will be called check if shape can be placed on grid. Okay, and then we want to pass our shape, so shape, I'm gonna call it current shape, and then let's implement this function now. So first of all, let's capture the current shape data, so var current shape data will be equal to current shape dot current shape data. Another variable will be var shape columns will be equal to current shape data dot columns, and then var shape rows will be equal to current shape data dot rows. Current shape data dot rows. Now we want to create list. So this list, let me put the comment, this list will contain all indexes of filled up squares. So this is going to be the list of the int, and then let's call it original shape filled up squares. Okay, it's quite long name, but I think it's okay. Let's put new, a list of int. Okay, and then we want to create one more variable, var square index will be equal to 0. Okay, now we want to put loop, so for var, first of all, let's loop through the rows, so row index is equal to 0, row index is less than the shape rows, and then row index plus plus, and now we want to loop through the columns, so for var column index is equal to 0, column index is less than the shape columns, column index plus plus, and then we want to check if our current shape data dot board at row index dot column at column index. So if this is true, we want to add this shape to our list, the index to our list. So original shape fill up squares dot add, and then we want to add our square index. Okay, and then outside of this if statement, we want to increase this variable, so shape square index plus plus. Okay, so this array will contain only the indexes for the squares which are enabled. So let's say, for example, for the shape like that, if we have shape like, let me put the comment. So if our shape looks like that, so we have a L, we will have the indexes in this array. We will have index 0, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, because we just indexing this square like index 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so this array will contain only the index 0, 2, 4, and 5. So this is literally what we are doing here, just looping through every single square and then fill up the squares which are enabled. Hopefully this is clear. Okay, and then we want to check if our current shape dot total square number is not equal to the original filled up squares dot count. If this is not equal, then we want to print the debug error message. So I'll just put message here. So number of filled up squares are not the same as the original shape. Okay, so we will know that there is something wrong with counting the enabled squares in our shape. So after that, we want to carry on with this implementation. So var square list is equal to, and now we will introduce one more function. So this function will be called get all squares combination. Okay, and we will pass the shape columns and then shape rows. Okay, so let's implement actually this function. So let me first of all explain you what exactly this function will do. So in order to do that, let's actually comment this one out, and let's quickly go back to Unity. So as you know, we are displaying our shapes based on the arrays. So if we go to the resources, shapes, and then open any shape. So as you see, for our shape L, let me get the right shape in. So for this shape, for the shape L, we have array 2 by 3. So basically what we want to do, we want to grab our shape, which is this. So this is the array 2 by 3. And then we want to slice our grid into 2 by 3 arrays. So first of all, we want to get this 2 by 3 squares, and then place these indexes into the separate list, and then we want to get another 2 by 3, okay, and then another 2 by 3 until we go here, and then we want to do the same for our rows. So after we complete this column, so we're gonna take like this 2 by 3, this 2 by 3, then this 2 by 3, this 2 by 3. So we're just always moving by 1 to the left, to the right, 2 by 3. So after we complete this, we want to do the same, but one row down. So we're going to take this 2 by 3, then this 2 by 3, then this 2 by 3, and so on until we complete all of this grid, until we get here. And then we want to store indexes for every single this shape into the separate list, and then we can compare our shape with the single array 2 by 3, and we want to do the same for every single shape. So I hope this is clear. I know it's a lot of drawing on the screen currently, but hopefully you get the idea. So this is the only way to actually check if any of the square can be placed on the grid, and this is working very accurate, so you will not end up in the situation like some of the shape which you have is not properly checked. Okay, plus you can't rotate the shape, so there is no problem with the rotation. If we will add a rotation for the shape, we will have to change this logic. Okay, so let me clear out the screen, and let's go back to our implementation. So I will stop it, and then let's go back to our grid and then grid class. And this is the function actually which is going to take all of this data which I just explained to you. So let's quickly implement this function. So right below, I will add this function. So var. So this function will return this function will be private and will return the list of the int array. Okay, so as I explained you, we're gonna grab our small arrays, we're gonna place in this array, and then we're gonna place all of those small arrays into the list. And then of course we want to get the size of the array for our shape. So this is going to be the int columns and then int rows. Okay, let's implement this function now. So first of all, let's create our var square list. Square list is equal to new list of the integer, then var last column index will be equal to 0, and then var last row index will be equal to 0. Okay, let's scroll a bit up, and then int save index is equal to 0. Okay, and now we will add the while loop while our last row index plus, let's open the braces and then put rows -1 is less than 9, because we know we have our grid is 9 by 9, so we know there is a 9 rows and the 9 columns. That is the maximum. And then inside this while loop we will put var row data is equal to new list of int. So let's add now the for loop. So for var row is equal to, and we want to put the last row index, row is less than the last row index plus rows, and then row plus plus. Okay, and then we want to do the same for the columns. So for var column is equal to last column index, column is less than the last column index plus columns, and then column plus plus. Okay, and then we want to put our row data dot add, and then we want to get our line indicator dot line data, because this is the data we have for with the indexes for our grid. So if I show you quickly, this is our list of the indexes, so we have all of the data here, so we want to use it. Line data, put the square braces, and then add row, then column. Okay, make sure you put in this order, not the other way around. Okay, so we're gonna populate our row data with our line data, and then after that, so make sure you put outside of this for loop. After that, we wanna do the square list dot add row data dot to array. Okay, and we have an error here, and this is because I forgot that we will return the list of the integer array, but our square list currently holds list of the integers. So inside here, make sure you put after the integer the square braces. So we're going to indicate that we're going to return the array of the integers, not just the integer. Okay, and as you see, our error disappeared from here. And then after that, we want to add last column index plus plus, and then if our last column index plus, let's open the brace, columns -1 is more or equal 9, so that means we have reached the last column, and now we should go back one row down. So last row index will be equal to plus plus. So we're going to increase our row number. So we're going to go one row down and start from the column number 0. So last column index will be equal to 0. Okay, so we're going to the next row and then save index plus plus. And of course, just to be safe, because we are inside the while loop, and for any reason, if we never meet this condition, we don't want to loop forever. So I just added the save index, and then we want to check if our save index is more than 100. So if we did the 100 iterations and then we still didn't pass this condition, we want to force this loop to be broken. Okay, so on the player devices, you will never end up in the situation like your application will be hanging out and player will wait forever until something happened. So we don't want to freeze the player phone. So if this is the case, we just want to put the break. Okay, it's just for the safety. This should never be hit, but you never know. There might be something happened. There might be some bugs, so it's better to be safe than sorry. So I just add this one in. Okay, and then outside this while loop, so outside from this one, we want to put return, and we want to return our square list. Okay, so that's it for this function. So we can use this function in our check if shape can be placed on grid. So as you see, I have already added these comments. So let's uncomment this one. Okay, so our square list will be equal to whatever we return from this function, and we want to pass the shape columns and then shape rows. And then let's carry on with this function. So after that, I will add the bool can be placed. Will be equal to false. So we assume that the square cannot be placed, and then we want to loop for each, and we want to loop through the square list, and I will call it number, and then we want to add another boolean inside this for loop. So bool shape can be placed on the board will be equal to false, and then let's add another for each. This time we want to loop through the original shape filled up squares, so through all of these indexes we have added before, and I will call it square index to check. Square index to check, and then here we want to get the var comp, so we want to cache the component, so comp, and we want to get our grid squares at numbers. Let's put another square array at square index to check dot get component. We want to get the grid square component, okay, and then we want to check if our comp dot square occupied is equal to true. So I will not put equal true, but this is clear that if this is equal true, you can actually put equal true, or you can leave it like that. We can set we will set our shape can be placed on the board equal to false. Actually, okay, there is one mistake. So as you see, this this variable is twice set to false, which is not correct. So when we create this variable over here, we want to set it to true. So make sure the variable is set to true here. So hopefully this is clear. So we basically comparing the same size of the array, the one which we sliced out from our grid, with the square array from our shape. And then we're basically checking if those two arrays have the same shapes enabled or not. Hopefully I didn't make this one much more complicated. Okay, so after this second for each, let's add another if statement. So if shape can be placed on board, I will set can be placed to be true. Okay, so this is still inside our first for each loop, and then outside of this for each I will return can be placed. Okay, and there is one more mistake, because we have returning the value from this function, but we specify that this function will return the void. So we want to change this void to bool. Okay, so should return the boolean variable, and then we want to return our can be placed. Okay, so now let's make use of this function. So let's go to our check if player lost. Okay, and inside our for loop, let's put the f statement. So if check if shape can be placed, so we want to get this function check if shape can be placed on grid, and then we want to pass our shape, so I'm gonna get it from the shape storage dot shape list at index and is shape active. Okay, so we want to pass the shape to our function. We will check if this function returned the value true or false, and then of course we want to only execute this logic if our shape is active, so if there is any of the shape square which is enabled. And then if this condition is passed, then we want to get the shape storage dot shape list at index, and then we want to put the question mark and dot. So this is basically the shortcut to making sure that this shape is not null. So if there is no index, if this, let's say the shape list have only 3 elements and you try to get the 4th element, you put this question mark, so that means this element is not existing, so that's going to be the null pointer. So this question mark dot will prevent you from the game to crash, so it will just not execute the function which is after the dot. So in our case it's going to be active shape. Okay, so this is just the safety. Make sure you put this question mark and the dot, and then valid shapes plus plus. Okay, and from this point is very easy now to actually check if there is a game over or not, because we know how many valid shapes we have. So if there is no valid shapes, so valid shapes equal to 0, make sure you put double equal sign, we know it's game over. Okay, so actually let's implement the small event for our game over, so we will be able to actually send this event. So let's go to our game events class, and right at the top I will put another public static action, and this action will accept the boolean parameter, and let's call it game over. Okay, let's save everything, and now let's go back to our grid class, to our check if player lost function, and then if there is no shape valid, then we want to call this game event dot game over, and this basically we want to pass if we have reached the best score, but we don't have the best score implementation yet, so for now let's pass false. Okay, so basically we want to send this event. And now there is one more thing which we need to do in this class, we need to actually call this check if player lost from somewhere, otherwise our logic will never be triggered. So there is function which we have implemented, I believe, in last episode, check if line is completed. So check if shape can be placed. Right, we have this, check if any line is completed. So let's find this function. And right at the end of this function, after we adding the game scores, we want to call the event. We want to call actually not the event, just the function check if player lost. Okay, so we're going to call this function after we adding the scores. So make sure you put this function in, and this is inside our check if any line is completed. Okay, so once you've done it, let's save everything. Let's go back to our check if player lost, and then go here and basically let's put small the debug message. So I will put the debug.log, and let's put game over. Game over. Okay, so let's save everything now, go back to Unity, let's everything to be compiled, let's press play, and now let's try to force the game over. So I try to just fill up this shape. Actually, let's get the console on so we will see if the message is triggered. Okay. Okay, let's try to complete. Right, I will not hit anything. So as you see, we cannot place this shape, but we can still place this shape. So there is no game over. If there is at least one shape which we can place, there is no game over. So if we try to place this shape now, and we cannot place this shape anywhere, there should be a game over. Okay, so let's try to place the shape, and there is no game over, but we have an error. So let's go back to this class, double click on this error, and we have the error because we try to call, as you see the error was here, and this is because we try to call the event, but there is no one who actually subscribing to this event. Let's for now comment this one out inside our check if player lost. Let's actually comment this event out. We're gonna send it, but we're gonna implement it in the next episode. So let's save everything. Let's go back to Unity and let's try again. So we can stop it now. Press play again, and let's actually check if our logic works. So let me do that again. Okay, so here, let's get this one here. Right. Okay, we should have a game over now because we cannot place this shape, but we can place this one. I mean, we can place this one, but if we place this one here, we cannot place the other one. Okay, can we not place this? No, we cannot. And of course, I can't see this message because I have disabled these messages. So as you see, my message has been triggered. Anyway, so the game over has been printed. So that means our logic works fine, and our message has been printed only once. So you can see here that there is just one message, and make sure this one is enabled. So I think that's it for this episode. Our game over logic works fine. So the game is pretty much in the playable state. In the next episode, we're gonna add the game over pop-up screen and small animation. So once the game over is reached, all of the squares will be fall down from our grid, so the grid will disappear. And then of course we need to add the proper logic for the implementing the scores and the best score. We need to add some UI here, and then there is a lot of stuff to add in the main menu. So that's it for today. If you like the series, please consider subscribing to this channel and leave a like. So again, thanks for watching, and I will see you again in the next episode.